pastor, Center for Spiritual Living, Greater Baltimore, Reverend Dr. Raymont Anderson, has frequently been referred to as a Renaissance man. One look at his resume and the reason becomes clear. As a lifelong learner with a passion for self-development, personal transformation, transmutation, and self-awakening, he lives his bliss as a teacher, mentor, speaker, minister, and so much more. His mission is to live, move, and be an active, which is an acronym, authentic, compassionate, transparent, inspired, vibrant, and empowered member of society who serves to educate, elucidate, emancipate, awaken, and empower people and communities. I give you my heat blanket, Reverend Dr. Ray.
Hola, ¿cómo estás? How's everybody doing today? Yeah, it's one of those days because it's cool, the briskness in the air, and I love this. I love Tracy said it's cold. I love this weather. So today, continuing with our theme, going further together, right? Today we're specifically talking about we are greater than me. In other words, the collective is greater than any individual, their needs. We're going to talk more about this because this can be one of those, but what I want us to really think about is this idea of we are greater than the concept or the paradigm or the consciousness of rugged individualism. That concept that I may hold, that I have to do it alone. I'm in it all alone. I don't have support. The collective, we, asking for help, asking for connection, reaching out, reach out and touch, right? That is greater than, okay? So anyhow, Ubuntu is a part of Zulu life philosophy, which means I am because we are. We're going to talk more about that, so stay tuned. In community, we embody a gestalt of consciousness, a whole that is greater than the mere sum of its parts. And each individual is uplifted because of the support of the group. So when you see this image, what comes to mind? Because the concept is, yes, alone you can go faster, but collectively we are able to go farther in a physical distance and further in the spiritual, in the conceptual, in the energetic. We are able to do both. Further, reaching greater expansiveness of what Greater Baltimore means, of what the United States means. We can go further with, for example, right now, we are able to go farther in reaching people because we are virtual. And that could not happen unless we were willing to go further in our consciousness to be able to reach out and do something different. Together, if you want to go fast, do it by yourself. Stay with the rugged individualism. But if you want to go far, if you want to expand, then it must be done together. Remember a couple of weeks ago, the quote was, or one of the quotes was, we do not heal in isolation. We heal in community. True healing happens in community. Now you can do certain levels of healing. Like I've spent 55 years young, and I've spent many years working on my individual healing. But what I've learned is when I partner with, when I develop my tribe, when I enlist the assistance of like-minded, supportive, nurturing individuals, whether that's a physician, a therapist, a minister, a practitioner, a family member, whoever that is, when I enlist the nurturing support of another, then I am able to actualize a completely new level of healing, because together we go far. Individually, we go fast. Together, what is our mission? What is our purpose? What are we aiming to do? Philosophically, the term Hunhu or Ubuntu emphasizes the importance of group, family, beloved community, tribe. The term finds a clear expression in the Nguni phrase, and I'm not even going to try because no.
Thank you.
A person is a person through other persons. Breathe that in. A person is a person through other persons. Now, when we think about this from spirituality, from new thought, spirit, God, is expressing itself in, through, and as each and every one of us. So when Tracy and I are interacting with one another, it is God acting upon itself. When Sue does the morning meditation or prayer or makes salsa for us, whatever that is, the manner in which we engage one another is the manner in which spirit is engaging itself. I learn more about myself in relationship to others, because others are able to mirror back to me areas I may want to work on, emotional things that I wasn't aware of, things that they are able to see when I have spinach in my teeth and I don't know it, and they are. A person is a person. A person develops together in community. We are here to be in relationship. Otherwise, the universe would have shown up as only one of itself, and that one would have stayed the one, period. If we think of the metaphysical story of Adam and Eve, if there was no point in having relationship, then it would have been Adam, and Adam would have just been Adam. There wouldn't have even been animals. It would have just been Adam. But then there was Lilith, and then there was Eve, and then there was, and then there was, and then there was. Why? Because we are meant to be in relationship. Breathe. In the science of mind, one of the first things to do is to love everybody. Oh, did you just say that, Tracy? To love, what'd you say?
I didn't say
Tracy said, I didn't say it. That was Ernest Holmes. To love everybody. If you have not done this, begin to do so at once. Ooh, now that's a hard pill to swallow.
Yes.
But it's easier when we fully learn to love ourselves. It's easy to love. Now, once again, this is not talking about that syrupy, bypassy, malpracticey kind of love where you just real quick and in a hurry, love the person who abused you. Love them. The person that shot the school, love them. We're not talking about that. We're talking about anchoring and grounding and recognizing that this heinous act was still nonetheless committed by someone who clearly does not recognize or know who or what they are. Am I able to find that space within myself to connect and recognize, even while this person is divine, what they did is evil? And then able to treat them accordingly to assist them in healing, because what I am connected to is love, because I'm connected to truth. Now, does that mean you are not going to be angry? Nope. You can love and still feel anger. You can love and still need to work through the healing and forgiving process. But love, and I mean deep, abiding love that is the truth of our beingness, is what we are encouraged to do. And that means looking around at what neighbor means, neighborhood. There are many representations of it. Who are the people in your neighborhood? They're in your neighborhood. They're in your neighborhood. Say, who do you hate that's in your neighborhood? Because their tree is growing on your land. Thank you for the boop boop. Yeah, exactly. right? Sometimes we don't like our neighbors because they don't clean their sidewalk when it snows, because they let their dog do what dogs do on my lawn, because of whatever that is. And yet we are encouraged to get to know our neighbors. And I don't mean just, hey, what's up? I mean, get to know them. And that it doesn't mean that they're going to be invited over for Thanksgiving dinner. It doesn't mean you're going to be best of friends, but it means you are being willing to availing yourself to getting to know people, getting to know them, getting to know more about them, because getting to know them helps me get to know more about me, right? There's this, how do we connect with varieties of people, diverse expressions of spirit? The image in the very center of the young children says, we all live here. We all live here. We all live here. And because we all live here, then every neighborhood is our neighborhood. Every community, in essence, is our community. Are we willing to see beyond boundaries and borders, not even just the physical ones, the emotional ones, to be able to reach out, to reach in, to allow others to reach out and to reach in? Joel Goldsmith says, breathe this one. Our neighbor as that which is in and of God, then we are loving our neighbor, whether that neighbor appears as friend, relative, enemy, animal, flower, or stone. Right? Check that out. Because we say, God is incarnating itself in, through, and as me and all people. Okay, what about the trees and the geese and the grass? Oh, so the same respect and love that I afford my sister, my son, my neighbor, my practitioner, my colleagues, my grandkids, like the same love that I afford another, I should also afford to the tree out front, to the birds in the tree, to the bees who are building a nest, or the wasp in the hive, or the spider in the corner. Now, does that mean I'm not going to just like let it be there? You know, we got bugs everywhere. But there is a level of honoring it, respecting it, knowing that it is nonetheless an individualized expression of the one. It is how the universe is showing up. And it is my neighbor because it is God in expression. So once again, there are no borders or boundaries. The funny thing is, here's Belgium and the Netherlands. You see the borderline? It's little plus signs. That's as simple as on one side, I'm in the Netherlands. On the other side, I'm in Belgium. On one side, I'm in the Netherlands. Then this one house is divided like right through their front door by the, so when you're in the living room, you're in the Netherlands. When you're in the dining room, you're in Belgium, right? That just goes to show us how immaterial borders and boundaries are. And that's a border between cities, states, countries. Where are the boundaries and borders that we erect to keep people at bay so that people can't get close enough? Because we have those. And we use those borders and boundaries and obstacles and things to hurt and harm not only others, but ourselves as well. When there is no enemy within, the enemies outside cannot harm you. So once again, in this tradition of Ubuntu, in certain regions of South Africa, when someone does something wrong, they, says he, but they are taken to the center of the village and surrounded by the tribe for 2 days, while they speak of all the good that this individual has done. They believe that each person is good, yet sometimes we make mistakes, which is really a cry for help. They unite in this ritual to encourage the person to reconnect with their true nature. The belief is that unity and affirmation have more power to change behavior than shame and punishment. This is known as Ubuntu, humanity towards others. Imagine if this was the practice before people went to prison. Imagine if this was the practice beginning in kindergarten, through elementary school and middle school and high school. Imagine if this is how families came together, and rather than jump immediately into shame, guilt, blame, criticism, we rallied together and surrounded one another in, I see the good in you, and I am going to reflect that back at you. You're intelligent, you're creative, you're powerful, you're loving, you're supportive, you're helpful. I'm going to, and we as a community, as a tribe, are going to pour into you and lift you up and erase the shame and the guilt and the mistake to assist you in realigning with your truest nature. Imagine what would be possible. Breathe. So there's the human body. And the human body is made up of a variety of parts. Do we compartmentalize and say we have a favorite part? Well, my left hand is better than my right. My left elbow is better than my right. My right ear is better than my left. It's my favorite ear, whatever. I prefer my heart over my kidneys, or my toe over my thumb. Do we have a favorite part, or do we recognize that all of it serves a purpose because it's all working together? All parts of, even though when people get tonsils removed and an appendix removed, ideally in the most healthy state of being, all of the parts are necessary. So ideally, if the tonsils were already working the way they're supposed to work, we would need not have them removed. The appendix, we would need not have it removed. All of it is working appropriately. If my feet were doing what my feet ideally were doing, I wouldn't need surgery next Monday, right? However, when something is out of alignment, we do whatever it is we need to do to bring it back into alignment. Surgery, prayer, meditation, therapy, conversation, sage and incense, whatever it is, we engage in the practice because we understand that all of it matters. All of the community matters. Every part. Every part. Every part. Ernest Holmes says, if we do not merge with others in cooperation, in unity, and in happiness, we may be certain that there is something in us that still feels it has been rebuffed. If we do not merge with others in a consciousness of cooperation, communication, collaboration, unity, oneness, happiness, and love, then we start to feel a certain way about stuff. We feel that we being rebuffed, but where is that within me? What am I invited to do so that I may better cooperate with Tracy, so that I am in greater unity with my neighbors, so that I am experiencing greater happiness when I am in the world? What am I called to do? Because what I do enhances what we are able to do. Go back to that tribe when the young person or the person, regardless of their age, does something wrong. If I am in the tribe and I am being invited to now circle this person, let's for the sake of conversation, Tracy's in the center of the circle, but I don't feel like cooperating. What am I going to be speaking? I don't feel in unity. What am I going to be speaking? I am not happy. We're letting her get away with, she keeps on doing this. When is she going to get her See, I keep following the rules and y'all keep letting these rule breakers do. Where am I going? How do I pour into her when I don't feel in alignment? Breathe. You can't. Tracy said you can't. You can't. Which means I am feeding the energy of wrong, dismissal, separation, lack, and scarcity, rather than what I am being. I am now able to step to the circle and connect where two or more are gathered, two and more are gathered in the very nature of what is true. Then truth is present in its vibratory power and impact. And then I, in like-minded unity and circling up, we are together declaring the truth of this individual, which gives them the strength, the fortitude, the ability to reconnect with their own divinity and power. The human body is made up of many parts. How often do we ever stop to think, right? Something as simple as a bone, one femur. You recognize that it is made up of several parts. It's not just a bone. The heart is not just a heart. The heart is made up of a variety of parts. You get where I'm going with this? A muscle fiber is made up of many parts. The lungs are made up of many parts. If you take one part, we'll say the lung, the left bronchus. I am the left bronchus. Just me by myself. Because others don't want to help me, I will left bronchus alone. There's no breath because the left bronchus needs the collective to breathe. The heart needs each part. And yeah, you can circumvent certain things to do certain things, but in essence, the parts, even if it is given the support of a mechanical device through surgery, a stent, whatever that may be, nonetheless, the parts assist the collective in functioning the way that it needs to function. Every part of us serves the whole. Every part of us, kidneys, bone marrow, blood, every part of us serves the whole. Every part of the human cell, every neuron, every part serves a purpose. And check this out. Because what exists in the physical is simply the physical expression of the divine template, when we look at something like a city as the human body, we recognize that, oh, blood transports. Well, there's transportation companies. There's storage tanks that store water and food and fat. Well, that happens in the body. So everything that we see in the external is happening in the internal and must be happening in spirit as well. All of it is connected. It is a reflection of the divine template. The manifest universe is the body of God. If I'm looking externally and I see separation and lack, then somewhere within me, there must be separation and lack. How do I heal that and begin to, once again, cooperate with the unity in love, joy, and happiness and oneness, so that I'm then able to cooperate with that unity? Gary Zukav says, when you release the wants of your personality in order to accommodate and encourage another's growth, you attune yourself to that person's soul. You got that? When you release the wants of your personality, well, I want Tracy to be the way I want Tracy to be. When you release the wants of your personality to encourage that person's growth, you attune yourself to that person's soul. You attune yourself to that person as God, as yourself. But see, what we tend to do is I, me. It's all about me and what I want. I want this and I want that. So I'm not going to yield or bend or do anything because it's all about me, rugged individualism. And yet, once again, what we see externally to us is a reminder of what is internal. So, as you already know, I love Marvel and DC and comics and Star Trek, etc.
No.
So, no, Tracy. So when I see certain things, I'm reminded that the metaphysicalness of Captain America was the idea of this man so wanted to serve the collective that he was willing to jump onto a grenade as a test. He didn't know that, but as a test. And because of how he yielded his own personality, he was able to become the first Avenger. And as it says in the Bible, John 15:13, greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's personality, one's ego, one's lack separation, fear, and grudges for one of their friends, a family member, a community member. See, we read this oftentimes and we think it's all about sacrifice your life. Jesus sacrificed his life, and this is the example. It's not about that. It's about, are you willing to lay down your ego? Are you willing to lay down your fears and your grudges, your resentment and your bitterness? Are you willing to lay that down and leave it so that you are now in alignment and in accord with others? Just like Spock said in Star Trek, the needs of the many outweigh my needs of ego. The needs of the collective, the beloved community, outweigh the needs of my fear individually. My, whatever that is, my righteous indignation. If it ain't gonna be my way, it ain't gonna be no way. It's my way or the highway. Tracy's laughing at me right now. But you get my point. The needs of the many, the we, the tribe, the beloved community. Because Ubuntu, a person is a person through other persons. I am because you are, and I am because we are, and we are because we are. We are the beloved community because we are doing what we, the community, is doing. Moment by moment, breath by breath, conversation by conversation, spiritual practice by spiritual practice. Eric Butterworth says, in the flow of love, you will tend to see and respond to the divinity in all persons. In the flow of love, this is what you do. And once again, it's easy for us to recognize obstructions in the external world. There's an obstruction in the road. There's an obstruction in the blood vessels. There's an obstruction in the veins. There's an obstruction in the pipe that the water won't go down. There's an obstruction in the toilet where it won't flush. There's an obstruction. It's easy to see the obstructions there, but it's much more challenging to see the obstructions in relationships, to see the obstructions in family, in generational curses. It's more difficult to see the obstructions when it's my own feelings of resentment and bitterness. And because we don't see those or recognize them as readily, we don't know what's the stuff you pour in the Drano. We don't know what is the Drano that will help me break the chains of resentment. What is the snake thing you put down the drain that will help me build family connection, or at least heal? I may never speak to that person again, but how do I heal that space within me? How do I encourage communication? How do I re-enter the flow? Thich Nhat Hanh says, deep listening is the kind of listening that can help relieve the suffering of the other person. You can call it compassionate listening, but it is being open to truly hearing not just the words, but the soul of this person. Even when it causes us pain, even when I'm uncomfortable hearing this, deep, compassionate listening. Because part of that is a spiritual practice, and part of that is how we collectively, because go back to the tribe, in order for me to affirm this person who is in the middle of the circle, I must listen to what their wrong behavior is communicating. What is the cry for help? If I don't hear the cry for help, then I am potentially treating something that I don't know what is. That's like calling the plumber, opening the front door and saying, fix it. Fix what? You have to tell them, kitchen sink, bathroom sink down the hall, bathroom in the base. You have to be specific, and the plumber must listen. The physician must listen. The metaphysician must listen, heart to heart. This week's spiritual practices. 1, what prevents you from having deeper, more meaningful connections within your personal, spiritual, local, regional, and global communities? Like, take each one, journal about that. What prevents you from having deeper, more meaningful connections with all of these? Then, which of these have you or do you currently engage in? And what do they afford you by practicing them? Resentment, bitterness, holding a grudge. Do you practice any of them? Have you ever practiced any of them? Tracy said, oh yeah. What did they or currently do they afford you? Because they're, Tracy said an excuse. She's giving y'all answers already. Tracy's like, I'm doing my assignment now. It gives you, and I would say an excuse gives you also the opportunity to now what? Avoid something, feel something else. It's giving something. What about withholding love or withholding forgiveness? Have you ever done it? And if so, heck yeah, Tracy said. And what does it afford you? Then, what can you do to nurture and foster more meaningful connections within yourself, within your relationships, and within your community? And then have a conversation with 4 diverse people about what each of these following bullet points means to you as a practice to engage in. What does Ubuntu mean to you as a practice to engage in? Compassionate listening as a practice to engage in. When there is no enemy within, the enemy outside can do you no harm, as a practice to engage in. And then lastly, laying down your life for someone you love as a practice to engage in. And we breathe. Yeah. And this week's affirmation declaration, I will say it first, and then if you feel aligned, say it with me. As we go and grow further together, the world brightens. Together. As we go and grow further together, the world brightens. So we breathe and recognize that everything from the beginning of service, from the pre-service meditation on through every aspect, prayer, spiritual practice, music, message, affirmation, homework, tithing, all of it is how the divine is expressing itself and continues to express itself, knowing that even when this thing called Sunday service ends, the way that we show up as service in the world is how God acts upon itself, how the universe is acting upon the universe itself in every interaction, every walk, every enjoying of nature, every meal, every hello, every hug, every namaste. It is all God, and therefore it must also be infinite and divine goodness and expression. We anchor and ground, knowing this to be the truth. We allow it to be what it is as answered prayer. We touch and agree, and we say, yes, and so it is. And so it is. Love y'all.